Coming up on Added Time.
Would Ancelotti say that? Would Ferguson say that? Would Mourinho say that? Would the real winners say that?
That last 500 yards, if you're saying a horse race, or the last 5 kilos.
He's an odd cat, let's be honest.
Good weekend for Arsenal, guys.
Great.
The fact that Liverpool tripped up, Chelsea again, and, Manchester City were good. We'll get to them a bit later on. But I don't know. Is there some underlying thought that they've got to really prove themselves across a series of big games before you're convinced that they can actually win something this season?
Only to themselves.
Yeah.
That last 500 yards, if you're saying a horse race, or the last 5 kilos, or whatever it is always the hardest. And they haven't won a major trophy for 5 years. Manager they've got who has not won a league as a manager, nor he's been part of Manchester City, but he wasn't the manager as a player. So there's always going to be that lingering doubt. But as they would with any team, they've got to go and prove it, most importantly to themselves. But I will say this. And you look, and I'm not just saying this because you're here and we know how much you love Newcastle. You win at St James's Park. That is
significant.
Significant.
Yep.
Winning there. I know they lost at Anfield, but those type of places, you go there and get 3 points. That really tells a story in itself.
And full disclosure, they fully deserve to win. They fully deserve to win. I just had this thought, Foz, that after the game, Arteta still found a way to talk about the refereeing decisions that should have gone their way but didn't. And these things are going to happen across 55 games a season, 60 games a season. It's going to happen. And Saka came out and said, it seems like everything goes against us. This is like lingering thought that, guys, you won a big game, maybe let that go.
What's interesting about Arteta is people rightly question him because he hasn't won at the club yet, and because they're improving year on year, and even in the Champions League last year they were brilliant, went further than before, and of course once again they've been so consistent in second. And so the trouble for Arteta and Arsenal is everything that he says and every complaint he makes, which many coaches do for a number of reasons, and one is to continue to put pressure on the officials. There's no confidence, and there can't be any confidence that he actually has the capability to get them across the line until he makes it happen. He doesn't help himself. It's all good conversational points for us, and at times it's very funny. Like when Manchester City and Guardiola sat back in the second half, and that was the talking point. And then Arteta after the game was talking about how brilliant it was, and everyone was texting him saying it was magnificent that he'd just because they'd drawn, right? and the reason it's a good conversational point is because you're always thinking, well, hang on a minute. Would Ancelotti say that? Would Ferguson say that? Would Mourinho say that? Would the real winners say that? Because the mentality of the coach is critical, obviously. It's not just selecting players and selecting tactics. It's actually leading from a psychological point of view and pushing the group through every challenge that they have throughout a season and getting across the line. And so I just think Arteta has not proven to any of us, obviously, not only kind of manifestly in the fact that he hasn't got it, but also the way that he responds after a lot of games. I think it is a worry.
He's an odd cat, let's be honest. What was the one last season against PSG? Did he say post-match that Luis Enrique said we were the better team, and then afterwards Luis Enrique's like...
What are you talking about?
Didn't say that at all. So
exactly.
It's strange. Look, to give him some credit, first of all... They were one Son Heung-min goal away from winning the title 2 seasons ago. They were really, really close. So they've been there or thereabouts for a long time. I think they've got all the pieces that they need, to get over the line and win something this season. And I just wonder whether some of this stuff that we might call gibber that he comes out with, Boz, is he trying to create... all managers do things their own way, including psychologically. Is his thing siege mentality 24/7?
And a majority of managers that are successful, the ones that Fozzie mentioned, generally go down that line. And there's pressure. I really think if he wins nothing this season, because he's been back to the hilt. And remember, he won the FA Cup, but it wasn't really his team. It was Unai Emery's team that won the FA Cup back in 2020. And I believe if he doesn't win anything this season, after the backing that he's got, that somebody else will come in to finish the job. Because he's got the squad, not only to win that the Premier League, but to win the Champions League as well.
You could argue that this squad has the most depth in the Premier League of the
Eze's doing well. I like what he's doing.
He's got almost got 2.
He's got Eucharist now.
Yeah.
So there's no moans about not having number 9.
Can you have a siege mentality with the best squad?
Of course you can. So you've seen it countless times with countless managers. Of course you can. Jose Mourinho is an expert at it. Alex Ferguson did it for years upon years. So, of course you can. And you might want to develop that. You just got to be careful that there's always, for every action, there's a reaction and vice versa. And you just got to be careful of the blowback that you don't, like you're alluding to, you don't get too much on that think all the time everything's going against you. If too much of anything's no good.
Yeah, that's the psychological part I'm enthused to find out about Arsenal is that how much seeps into the players, or is it the new age thing?
Well, they've made their mind up. They're not going to be satisfied until they win it.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming out. We won, yeah, but we're still not satisfied because of this. Yeah, we won, yeah, because we're still not satisfied. So they're going to be demanding in every little thing that they win every little situation. Yeah, I think it's really got to that point.
With players, though, Vinny, like the modern player, that how much that seeps in. The old school player of listening to noise and talking to reporters and taking it all in. They're off on their own little social media bubble, many of them right now. I just be fascinated to see how it develops throughout the season with Arsenal taking this on board from the manager and the expectation as well.
A bit like managers, players also do things their own way, and they might have their own sounding boards. And it's interesting about the social media stuff as well, actually, because everyone's got their own algorithm that feeds them back their own stuff based on their own likes and dislikes and all that. And I don't know the modern player that well to know what their news feeds and such will look like. But what I do know is most managers end up regurgitating some of the things that the managers say to them. And that's going to be the case with Arsenal. And I just wonder, we don't know the answers to these questions. I think it's just going to be interesting to see when they keep having trials as they did against Newcastle. Are they going to come through them? And each one so far, this season at least, they've passed. And I thought that was a really important step to come back from behind the way they did.
Is the template of their football good enough for us?
Yeah, it definitely is. They're playing at a really high level, and they're also variable. So he's able to make it a little bit more defensive, a little bit more attacking. Go all out, sit back. You remember last year when Odegaard was out, and then they were just sitting like they were sitting 4-5-1. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And
they got too much of the defensive mindset. Because I want to take up with Vinny as well.
Yeah.
We say like Liverpool away. I thought. And Manchester City at home, I thought that they were hiccups in terms of the fact he needs to let the handbrake go. If he's going to go down, which I believe he will if he doesn't win anything, he might as well go down fighting.
Well, and so this is the This is the question mark around him. One of the question marks. Can he manage a group across the line against other top teams? And it's all about Arteta now because you have the squad. There's no issues there. We all know they are good enough to win. That's obvious, right? So therefore, it's all about him getting this group of players to perform at a high enough level, consistently enough in the big moments against the big teams. What he did against Liverpool, where he does then sit back a little bit more and pull the reins a little bit, is seen as a weakness. Because there's a lot of draws last season that cost them, right? And particularly against the big teams. And so is he going to be able to actually beat them at those times? And, I mean, with respect, Newcastle is not the team that they need to be beating. They need to be beating the other, top three. And so, that's going to be proven this season. But in terms of personnel, yes. In terms of tactical variability, yes. Again, last year he demonstrated that he's even happy to sit on the edge of his box and just play counter-attacking football. So the team is now very mature, can play in a whole range of ways. You've now got a new number 9 who's integrated in well, and you've got Eze who's just growing. And you've got Odegaard coming on as well, in the 82nd, I think, and performing brilliantly. So if he can, and now you've got Saka back playing. So this is an extremely strong group.
I'm going to do a count on how many times he mentions refereeing decisions after each game this season. I'll report back towards the end of the season. Still to come on Added Time.
We are all biased. There's no doubt about that. That's understandable because he's Australian.
Learning something out of wins which you don't play your best, as opposed to learning something out of getting a kick up the backside.
A lot of them, I think, like him, but they just want to sort of, not make it too easy for him. Just give him a little bit of a nudge in the right direction.
He knows how to manipulate the ball and his body. That guy invented it.
Ange Ball. Ange, still waiting for that first win at Forest. Midtjylland in the Europa League, the Danish team who are off on a 4-game win streak. So it might be a simple occasion.
They're second in Denmark. They've only lost one game all season, but they should win this game. It's quite simple.
Yeah.
A million percent.
We should.
Okay, so
at home
he said at home as well. It's another good point. There has been minor improvements in all the games that he's played. We'll take away the Arsenal one. We'll give him a free pass for that because any team in the world can struggle at Arsenal. I thought that the whole lot of games beforehand were resultable. Nothing's changed my mind other than the fact that what I've seen and obviously the outcome of them. But they need to start winning. It's pure and simple because regardless, we are all biased. There's no doubt about that. It's understandable because he's Australian, you know, and we know him so well and he's come through the ranks here. There's no doubt about that. But being biased or not, and the fact that we want him to succeed so much, we know about Marinakis' record, and if it continues that he doesn't win for another 5 games, I think he's going to struggle. I really do.
I will say, Boz, and maybe I can speak for all of us to some degree on this, but I'm not biased because he's Australian. I'm biased because I know what he's capable of and what he's achieved, and I guess a lot of people in Europe don't consider those achievements because they happened at a lesser level. So when...
But there's a level of attachment because he's Australian.
Oh, without doubt. But I don't believe in him because he's Australian. I believe in him because of what he's done. And he's done some remarkable things, and always usually at times where it looks like it's not going to happen and then it happens. You know, so we're in that initial period now, and I'd be a lot more concerned about the direction they're heading in if they weren't creating the chances that they have been. I think they've been playing reasonably well, you know, maybe a little bit of a regression in the Sunderland game, but they're playing, the change of style has happened pretty quickly. They're just not finishing their dinner. They're not putting the chances away. You put those chances away, the games change, the results happen, and then the atmosphere changes. But unfortunately, the thing that I doubt the most around what's happening now is just because that win hasn't come, the atmosphere around the club, which inevitably seeps into the dressing room, becomes a little bit more toxic. So he badly needs a win for the outside more than the inside, I think, at this point.
Especially if Nuno walks into West Ham, which he's done now, and starts winning all the time. A first-up draw against Everton for Nuno at West Ham, but I wonder how many Forest fans still kind of hold their Nuno teddy bear close and think of the good old days of last season.
Well, they're going to, but that's management anyway. Any club they walk into, there's always a section of the fans who, you know, had a great attachment to the last one, and so, you know, that's just normal at any club. It doesn't, it's not going to affect, I think, the way he does the work. Of course, he needs a win. I think he needs it for both. I think he needs it internally and externally. And that's for the club, and that's for the ownership, and that's for the leadership of the club to see that it's heading in the right direction. And you know, but we can see definite progress. I mean, the first half against Real Betis was excellent. Okay, excellent, and it was a quantum shift from what they were doing a month ago only to a completely different way of seeing the game and playing. And they were playing it very, very effectively. And Betis, who's, you know, a good Spanish side, they really struggled in the first half, and then they adjusted a little bit the second. It was a different second half, but having been down 1-0 as well, and then being able to come back, you know, Douglas Luiz doing very well, you know, to 2-1 leading and playing really well. All of a sudden, you say, okay, great. If they had have continued on and taken that, I think it would have been, you know, then it's a very different conversation. Yes, they had some great chances against Sunderland, and of course Chris Wood had, you know, 2 great headers late in the game, one in particular which you would expect him to at least hit the target. But the signs are positive. It is true though that, you know, creating chances, but also having, I mean, there's been a lot of goals against as well. So also conceding chances was the problem last year, and so the issue is always around balance. You know, being able to create that, play that football, but not open up, you know, and not give opponents enough. And it's also true to say that over a period of time, you know, the players having such a major adjustment in way of thinking and style can affect you after a while. So Midtjylland, we expect him to win that game, and then what's
It's a bad run after
Newcastle,
that.
Newcastle, then
Newcastle
the international
away,
break.
Newcastle away.
Then Chelsea when he comes back from the international break at home. Porto then in the Europa League. Bournemouth away, and Manchester United at home.
Well, at least they got the easy one in United. And
Yeah, that one down the bottom there is like a
just a quick,
yeah.
Just a quick one on the respect thing, and this is something that used to be said to me, to be honest, when I was over there as a young kid. Respect is earned, not given. I think he earned the respect of a lot of people in world football by winning that Europa League. And this is no disrespect to where he's been in the past. But when you're associated now with arguably the biggest league in the world, one of the biggest leagues, I think it's the biggest league in the world, but whatever, people are, unfortunately, Vinny, I hear what you're saying. I actually hear what you're saying completely. But they're going to say that. Because the first reaction is going to be, yeah, he's won everywhere where he's went in the past. And they're going to say, just like they do with other managers that come from other parts of the world, yeah, but it was Japan. Yeah, but it was, Scotland. I think the respect that he got would have been from the most so far, winning that Europa League last season in those circumstances. But he needs to earn it in terms of what happened in the league, re-earn it, so to speak. So you know what I mean? You know where I'm coming from?
I completely agree.
Yeah. But I think we sometimes, all of us, we get a little bit defensive. I've noticed, especially on X and on social media, we all get a little bit. We do.
Yeah.
When we see some articles written and all that. But a lot of that, I think, like I said, there's some I can tell they just don't like him. But a lot of them, I think, like him, but they just want to sort of, not make it too easy for him. Just give him a little bit of a nudge in the right direction.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And if I was from that part of the world and saw football in that way as well, I'd probably have the same perspective. I'm just saying we have a different perspective, and that's why we're probably more willing to give him more rope when things are looking dodgy, because we know that history shows that every time he has a dodgy period where he's building something, the thing gets built and success follows, and that's happened everywhere. So that's
know where I'm coming from.
100%. Yeah.
Because I think there was
because the Forest fans have a right to expect a certain level, and obviously they're not concerned about where...
And they're still pissed off that Nuno left, because they never wanted that to happen, and that's happened at a Marinakis level, and they're upset that the guy who brought them the best season of their lives, to be honest, most of them...
Best in 30 years.
...got turfed out. So there's that context to it as well.
But you know what I'm coming back from a little bit from the history.
Yeah.
Like, even when it was Socceroos box, I remember towards the end and people sort of... the overwhelming majority, I didn't find anything, it wasn't personal, but people seem to take it in that way over here, a little bit personal, when it's not. For me, he's our greatest coach of all time for what he's achieved in terms of not only overseas, but the fact winning the Asian Cup with Australia, the style of football that he plays as well on top of that, which is the hardest thing to do to marry with winning. But I just get that sense with us in general. A lot of people over there do too. They're like, it's like we can't say anything. And that brings back memories of towards the end of his tenure with the Socceroos.
Okay, next talking point.
Anyway, good luck in the next couple of games. Let's see, you got to win Thursday morning, right?
Yeah, 6 games time. They've got Manchester United.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Still to come on Added Time.
Eze, and he's still doing it.
And then all of a sudden you step up to a bigger club and it's just a complete mess.
So I think it's time for him to change. Okay, we said this last week, adaptability is the mark of a genius.
Talk about another Europa League winner of recent times in Oliver Glasner, who got it done with Eintracht Frankfurt a couple of seasons ago. And their big win over Liverpool, Crystal Palace, their win over Liverpool on the weekend. We'll get to Palace and Glasner in a second. But Liverpool, I'm again back to the psychological part of the game with Arteta. I'm fascinated in the balance between learning something out of wins which you don't play your best, as opposed to learning something out of getting a kick up the backside, which they got at Selhurst Park. And I'm talking of Liverpool on the weekend. Where do you get more inspiration from for the future, Boz? Is it out of that defeat, or is it out of a win that you perhaps might not have thought was going to happen?
You say it in hindsight. Once you say it afterwards, after you've lost, and then you go on to win the league again. We really learnt a lot, but you know what? At the time, you'd much rather be the other way around. I'd like to learn by like they have done in the first sort of 5 games or so, by still winning, but to still learn a little bit. I know you said forget about the Austrian Oliver Glasner and whatever, but I don't think you can.
No, we'll get to him.
But I'm saying, Tim, but I think it was more to do with that than anything. I thought they were outstanding. If it wasn't for Alisson Becker, they would have been well away by half time. Liverpool, as we know, haven't quite been at their best, but I thought that's been scary for the rest of the league, because even though they haven't been playing at their best, they've been picking up win after win after win after win. So in terms of where they're going and how they've been, I'd be not totally at ease, but I'd be fine. I'll be Arnie Slot, I'll be going, no problem. It's a very long season. It's a bonus that the way we've started, and we know how much better we can get, that we've still got all these points on the table. They have Olympiacos, I think it is this week. No, sorry, they've got Galatasaray away. I think it's Arsenal who have got Olympiacos. Galatasaray away, which would be a difficult game. Then on the weekend, they've got a huge game against Chelsea. The last thing you want to do before international break, though, saying all that, is to have 3 losses on the trot.
Glasner, the king of Europe at the moment, Crystal Palace, haven't lost the game. Doing that to Liverpool in the first half in particular. I mean, that's how you play a 3-4-3 for all the talk of Ruben Amorim. We'll get to Ruben a bit later on, but just the way he's set this side up, and you take into account he's lost his 2 best attacking weapons in the last 2 seasons, in Eze and before that Elise, who's just gone to another level at Bayern Munich. So on every level for Glasner, he's getting players and having them and improving Crystal Palace. Adam Wharton is a simply superb player, and yet he's keeping the chairman happy by increasing the value of these players, and then they can get a price for them. They're not going to get a price for Gay, but still, on every level, it's the perfect manager, would you say, for a club of Crystal Palace's stature in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think that's right. And not that he can't go higher, but he's done an amazing job there. I mean, even in his first season, they got a record number of points in the EPL, and of course now FA Cup and the like. So, a brilliant job. He came out of Red Bull Salzburg, of course, where they have a very clear idea of the game with and without the ball. And I think that's a good grounding for coaches like Glasner, who can be variable, change their tactics within their general understanding of how they want their team to play. So pressing tactics or build-up tactics, sometimes playing, sometimes long balls.
So the Red Bull group, for context, they play their football like every player has had 3 Red Bulls before they walk.
Basically, yeah. That's right.
It's pretty much what they do, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's like the old Klopp stuff, which is like high-octane football, but very focused on 2 things, which is pressing and transitions. Transitions all over the field, meaning when the ball is lost, we get it back and we go, and transitions from deep, called counter-attacks, i.e. you have an attack, we get it and we go. And the other thing about it is they're not ideologues in terms of short passing. So Crystal Palace is, their long passes are among the highest in the league. So a lot of long balls from the keeper to Mateta, well organised around it, and therefore always grabbing second balls, wingers in good positions and go, right? So it can be, you see it more in the EPL than elsewhere. Very strong physical players, so that therefore they can get up and down very quickly, and just great organisation. And then the tactics in each game are about setting traps for the other team and where are we going to press them and are we going to let them come and not and go, or which is the weak side. So it's understanding the opponent at the same time as being extremely well organised. And of course, then you've got set pieces, which is always, and you're seeing like a lot of corners being scored now, and even throw-ins in the EPL. It's become a real feature, and Glasner, out of that system, that's always a very strong part of their methodology.
Funnily enough, on the long throws, I think when Glasner was coach at LASK in Austria, his long throw merchant was James Holland.
So he was actually used to take them.
Oh. Yeah, yes, he used to take them.
Right.
Strong Lats Holland.
Yeah. I was actually reading an article about this, by a former colleague, Nick Stoll. Did an interview with James Holland back then when he was at LASK, and now, of course, James Holland is on the bench, and what an environment that is to have, another Australian coach coaching the Premier League under Glasner.
And he's set-piece coach.
I think he's just got he's the newest assistant, so he's got a pretty broad remit.
He's a long throw coach.
Yeah, he does a bit of whatever they need him to do at the moment.
Fantastic. Good football as well. Good to see another Aussie there. Brilliant.
Fantastic, and a great coach to learn under.
Great place to be,
They've clearly got a really strong relationship because obviously he played under him, and James got the call up last season, just couldn't get the visa to actually go across. Finally got it, and there he is. So first game I think that he was on the bench for was the Community Shield final.
He got straight in those photos, didn't he, as well?
And hasn't lost a game since, so doesn't know what it's like to lose.
Because the other thing about Glasner and these types of coaches, Iraola's another one and so on, what they're also able to do is create a very strong group that knows exactly what they're doing, is fully committed to it, and this is why players excel in it, because they know exactly what their role is. They've got a team to support them. Elisa, so you're on the wing, you know where you got to be, you know how you got to defend, you know that you can press, you know that he's going to get the best out of you. He's giving you a little bit of freedom, but you also have to do all these things. But they can make players do it. And you contrast what Glasner's been able to produce, and Iraola and these others, just consistency of performance. That means every player is coming out and playing within a range like this every week.
7 to 8 instead of a 6 to 9.
Yeah, exactly. And we can do this another time. But when you contrast that to Manchester United, for example, that's the reason why there's a huge amount of conjecture about Amorim, is because you just can't have a team up and down. So these coaches that can just say, this is how I manage the mentality, and when players do this is unacceptable, this is right. So they're managing the group extremely well. Everyone, to say happy, it's clear that everyone is happy to be there, is committed to the group, committed to the club. And that's just good management.
And you know how it works, Boz, in the ocean of European football is that a big shark swims by and likes the look of a manager at a Crystal Palace or a Bournemouth or whatever. Can you imagine Oliver Glasner ending up at one of the seriously big hitters in the Premier League, the title aspirants?
Definitely. Absolutely, definitely. We just spoke about his unbeaten record, and coming back to what we were talking about before, this is in the process of losing players. Elise, Eze, and he's still doing it. He's the best record in Europe, biggest unbeaten record in Europe. And not only that as well, you're talking about coming to a club. Fozzie would tell you, Fozzie's been there 120 years before their major trophy. He won that, then he won, the Charity Shield was on penalties.
Even so.
But even so, it's,
chance in the Conference League, you'd imagine?
100%, but 100%. But it is a different dynamic. Eintracht Frankfurt, I would say, is at the moment a little bit bigger club than Palace. But it is a different dynamic when you do go to a bigger club, because you enter the world of also politics in terms of player politics. And that can be a little bit daunting. There's also, at big clubs, there's little sections here and little sections there. So those are all the things that you have to come to terms with, which you wouldn't have to do at a smaller type of club.
So I was going to ask the question just quickly. So if you look in the last kind of 10 years, let's say, who are the coaches who've made a name for themselves at smaller clubs and then demonstrated an ability, actually, because they're always looking for the talent, the young talent or the new talent, the clubs, and then has gone to a big club and has actually performed extremely well. And I would think...
Question.
Because
not the last 10 years, but I'd say last 20 years, you'd have to say, even though, Porto is a big club in Portugal, but Mourinho coming from Porto, but he still won the Champions League.
That's right.
Coming to do what he did at Chelsea.
Yep, exactly. But then after him was Villas-Boas, who won in Porto as well, and then was just complete, was a loss.
So I mean...
So Slot came in, yes, but I argue one of the problems that we've got is he inherited Klopp's team.
So it's Slot with an asterisk a little bit, because you want to see him build it himself.
I mean, amazing what he did last year.
Arsene Wenger back in the day from Japan.
Arsene Wenger from Japan is one. Yeah, so we're going back a long way here.
You're going back. You could say
look at Maresca.
Yeah.
Maresca's now stepped up there. So they often come into the smaller teams. Look at Potter. Okay? So, and then all of a sudden you step up to a bigger club and it's just a complete mess. So the idea that Glasner, just because he's doing at Crystal Palace, that you can step up is just simply not right. You have to identify that they have the capabilities to actually manage on the big stage. That's why Klopp was so special. Guardiola's a bit different. Come through the Bs into his own club. That's a different thing from coming from...
Big player as well.
From Mainz to whatever to Dortmund, and then, pressing Bayern, beating the monopoly, and then going to Liverpool. What he did in Liverpool was unbelievable. He was the only one that could actually challenge Guardiola. So I just think it's interesting. At the moment, you're seeing a lot of young talent coming through, or different talent. And I think the big clubs are really struggling to identify who is it that's actually capable of making that jump.
Still to come on Added Time.
Everyone's coming, and he'll just go bam, 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 sometimes even backheeled.
He will be the next Aussie to play in the Premier League.
Oh, easy.
It's got to be Barca, topples Paris. Well, topples the Eiffel Tower.
Saki, total football, Cruyffism, Barcelonism, and that was it. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to...
Yes is onside.
Right.
You can play on, yes. I'm giving you the big tick.
Okay.
Offside, wrong. Stop play. Done. Disagree. Fozzie, first up.
Yeah.
Sergio Busquets.
Oh, what a player.
I just have to mention the name and look at it.
What a player. What a player.
Okay.
So that's definitely yes.
Well, he brings a smile to your face.
Okay.
So onside, I guess.
He's soon to be... Okay, so onside. I could say anything like this. Sergio Busquets lost his driver's licence for driving too quick. Onside. No. Sergio Busquets has announced his retirement. So three-time Champions League winner of Barcelona.
That's sad. That's very sad.
Including 2011. That team, 2011, was the best team in history.
I think
they played the best football in history. There's no doubt about it. There's absolutely no question. That was the zenith of the whole Saki, total football, Cruyffism, Barcelonism, and that was it. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to it. They played in the Intercontinental Cup, was it the Club World Cup, and they played against Santos. I think it was in the final, and that's when Neymar was still there before he went across to Spain, and I think they scored 5. That was the Fabregas team and all of that stuff, and that was just like the most unbelievable football that you ever saw. And in fact, the Santos coach said this is a football that we're not familiar with, right? And the world wasn't familiar with it, and it would not have succeeded, it could not operate without this guy.
Busquets.
Yeah, and I say it's sad because that era's gone. Iniesta, Xavi, Messi almost, and all of, PK, and so it was a legendary. It was great memories. For those of us who lived through that style of football, it was unbelievable. 3 Champions Leagues. I think he won 32 trophies. But he was the definition. What people say today is a press-resistant player. I hear them saying now. It's a good term. Press-resistant. I mean, so from a coaching perspective, can't get near him. He knows how to manipulate the ball and his body. That guy invented it. I'm sure someone was good at before, but he was unbelievable. He could get out of everything. And finally, I know it's supposed to be short here, but this is a legend of the game. The other thing about him is the best one-touch player in the world, maybe ever. In the centre, because in the centre of midfield is round, and therefore you've got people coming from everywhere, and therefore game understanding and awareness of where I'm going to play under pressure. Everyone's coming, and he'd just go bam, bam, bam. Sometimes even back heels. He was just an absolute freak.
So I know what Craig Foster's doing this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's going down a YouTube rabbit hole. Visiting Barcelona 15 years ago.
Go and watch it.
I think it's safe to say he's an
go and watch
offside.
it. But it's good for all the young viewers who didn't go through it like us. Go and look at Busquets and go on YouTube and see, and you're going to go, wow, geez, I wish, whatever your team is, you're going to say, I wish we had one of them today.
So onside.
Yep.
I'm not sure. Boz.
What?
Onside, offside. Going down to earn a penalty is all part of the game.
Well, it depends what you mean by going down. If you're talking about blatantly diving...
Looking for one.
No, that's not good. Offside, then. Offside, no. If you want to win like that, I'm sorry, you'll forever be stained. We just talked about one of the greatest football teams of all time. You don't hear any stories about that, about them cheating or this, that and the other. Yeah, if you get hit properly and you go down, even if you go down and get... no problem, OK? But not just to go down for the sake of it. No chance.
Come on.
No, I mean it. Ooh. If you want to win like that...
Are you telling us that if Yorkie at Villa in a big game or something, he got touched and he's going?
He wouldn't do it. Yeah, no, I hear what you said, but he wouldn't do it. And like I said, I think any man worth their salt wouldn't do it either.
Fair enough.
Foz, Jordan Boss has 2 goals, 1 assist from his start to the season with Feyenoord, who are top of the Eredivisie, onside, offside. He will be the next Aussie to play in the Premier League.
Oh, easy. I think he's so far above everyone else. I actually drove all the way down to Canberra to watch him against New Zealand recently, and in that first game, he was head and shoulders. He was absolute standout. We know he's got talent, but now he's delivering it to, as you say, a big club in that league. And there's no doubt all the scouts will be looking at him. You know what? I look at Jordy Boss and I look at Kirkes for Liverpool, for example, who I haven't been that impressed with so far this season, to be honest with you. And I look at Jordy and I go, OK, well, what's the difference? Like, this kid is quick, brilliant, left foot, strong, shoot, cross, go, powerful, up and down, good defender as well. Who are our greatest left-backs? Chippers, playing in the World Cup. Well, yeah, I mean, he was one of them. Lazar was also brilliant, Chippers obviously played in World Cup. But who else? Flash Jennings, was brilliant. I played with him at City Croatia when, in the Wally Shavor Jennings era. We've had a lot, but this guy is in a position right now where he could become our best.
Agree. Boz?
Yes.
We are going to see some Jose Mourinho antics pitch side on the weekend when he returns. Oh, not on the weekend, sorry, midweek. Yeah. When he's back at Chelsea with Benfica. Offside.
Tomorrow morning, he'll kick off at 5 a.m. There won't be any negative antics. He'll get a rousing reception from the Chelsea fans. There will be some antics in terms of trying to get his team to get the best result possible, but there won't be no disrespect shown to Chelsea. That was a very, very important part of his life, and maybe a part of his future life. You never know. Well, you never know. If they keep losing.
We get a payout from Benfica and go there to take it through the €100 million payout figure or something like that. I did want to ask one about onside, offside. Does Hugo Ekitike take his shirt off if he scores at Galatasaray or Chelsea on the weekend? But we might leave that one there, given he got called stupid by his manager. Crystal balls time, gents.
Right.
Barcelona PSG. Barcelona Paris.
What a game.
Huge.
What
Thursday
a game.
morning. What's the headline out of it, do we feel?
Oh, it's got to be Barca topples Paris. Well, topples the Eiffel Tower. There you go.
Oh, there you
There's
go.
got to be something like that. Yeah.
Dramatic. It's unfortunate for the Eiffel Tower.
Paris, as we've seen, have got so many players out injured. They are still top of the table in France. However, they did lose 2 weeks ago to Roberto De Zerbi's Marseille. Barcelona have been exceptional, in my opinion, this season. Only drawn once, top of the league. We saw them last week against Newcastle, talking about options, a bit like Arsenal. They've got so many options. And as well, in terms of Barcelona, let's not, last season, I think they got sort of, I wouldn't say forgotten, but really, they were unfortunate, in my opinion, not to have won that semi-final against Inter Milan. What was a legendary game.
Totally.
And
Well, it was their fault.
It is. They would have been in the final, and it would have been, put it this way, a much closer final than it was in the end.
Yeah. And a dream final.
Yeah, 100%. But with Dembele, Doué, Neves,
Barcola.
I think Barcola might be fit, but some of all those players I just mentioned, they're all out injured. Plus a few, I think Vitinha's even out injured as well. So Barcelona to win this one.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be around Pedri. I reckon he wants to show that he is the premier central midfielder in the world. Vitinha, I think, had that crown last year. I think Pedri's a better player, but Vitinha was unbelievable last year. So I think you're going to see a massive performance from him.
Okay, one more crystal balls. Manchester United back to square one after Brentford on the weekend. What does the next month look like for Ruben Amorim, in all seriousness? Is it job defining?
I really think it is.
Yeah?
I really think it is. There's some of the noises that we've been hearing in the last couple of days and the last couple of hours coming out from Manchester. It's a mixture, for me, of getting the proverbial kick up the backside to the beginning of the undermining, if he is to go. And to hear him on Friday say, basically, he will start the evolution. But then for it to come out that he was called to a meeting with the hierarchy where basically apparently they told him, he needs to change, basically, that is undermining your manager. For it to come out, no problem in my opinion, because
if it happens, it happens.
Who pays the piper calls the tune, no problem. And I said that last week. He needs to show his adaptability, a la what Ange did last year in the Europa League. Showed his adaptability, won a trophy. But then when you hear that publicly, then you hear stories from his wife saying he's had sleepless nights, and now there's rumours floating about a possible, Gareth Southgate. It really is not looking good. Now, November will signify a year. And, they've got Sunderland this week at home, and then there's the international break. So they've got some big games coming up after that as well. Liverpool away. Liverpool have walloped them under Ten Hag. Remember that? I think that was the 6 or 7-0. 7. Brighton at home, then Forest away. It's a really tough and testing time. I felt a little bit sorry for him on the weekend, and I'll tell you why, because I thought Collins should have been sent off for that foul, and there was 5 minutes to make that decision before the penalty was taken. But they only got themselves to blame. Really, the biggest thing was the way they actually, forget the tactics, the way they started. But the thing is, if you go through their squad, they've got a team to adapt and to play different tactics. And you know what? I want to ask another question. Where's Kobe Mainoo? What's up with him?
Well, he came on with half an hour to go, and he came up with one touch that led to the third goal.
So far as I'm concerned,
completely devoid of confidence.
If you want to go, for example, 4-2-3-1, right? Okay? The top 4, Šeško, Cunha, Mbumo and Fernandes in behind, they pick itself. But Kobe Mainoo should be one of the holding midfielders. Okay, quite simple. Then you can pick yourself. The goalkeeper was outstanding on the weekend, Bayendir, or was it?
It was 4-0 at half time.
So your back line and all that, and consistency is key for the back line. So I think it's time for him to change. Okay, we said this last week. Adaptability is the mark of a genius.
Quick one, Foz.
I was just going to say that. So I get a lot of us think that he should change or could change the system, but in the end, the consistency of performances is independent even from the system. In other words, they're just too up and down. You cannot have been there for a year and have a mentality of a group that is this poor for a Manchester United group. That's what worries me. That's why I think that something's rotten in the club, because he's just the latest. And Ten Hag was also very good and pretty much destroyed his career there. And even some of the most experienced guys couldn't get the job done. There's something wrong in the club. So I feel for Amorim. However, you cannot have this level, having won 2 consecutive games, you cannot have this inconsistent level of performance from that group of players, I don't care if whatever system you want to play in.
Well, my wife's going to England on the weekend. We're going today, actually, and I've got a ticket to Manchester United Sunderland, so I'm not sure if that's a reward or a punishment at the moment. So enjoy, Rach.
This has been another Stan Sport production. The only place to watch the English Premier League live and on demand with 4K is on football's new home, Stan Sport. Add Stan Sport now at stan.com.au/sport.